We are in round one. We've won the die roll, so we'd love to play first. And I think we have to ditch this. Though with one more land, this would be sweet. We could just, Sylvan Scrying on turn 2 and then start pulling away with it. But with just the one forest, even with, I think, yeah, even with, the large number of ways we have to ramp, I think it's just a little bit too sketchy to keep this. So I'm going to mulligan. And this is like a lot less of an interesting hand, but it's a good hand, so I'm going to keep it. And scry this, I think to the bottom. Yeah, we're just looking for more early plays to make, and like the channeler is like a sweet card to have, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a very important card with like the hand that we have currently. All right, so our opponent's playing a 1-2, so I feel pretty good about this. All right, well, there's our experiment, right? The Myers Malice could be kind of sweet, could be pretty terrible. We'll have to find out. So there was that two mana combat trick in the format that gives this guy first strike. So I want to be a little bit careful about that because I don't have a great follow-up if this dies. Also, I can apply pressure if my opponent makes that kind of a play. All right. Or if my opponent makes like this kind of a play. I mean, I'm going to just leave this back on defense from now on. So I don't feel too terrible about this. It'll eventually eat, a turn. It'll fog for a turn. I think probably this turn I'm just going to get the Cutthroat down onto the battlefield. Definitely don't want to be deploying a Ruinous Path at this point. Right. Should probably just auto-yield that. Landfall trigger. So next turn I could Myers Malice my opponent, but since I'm already down a card on the play, I think I'd really like to get the most out of this. And it looks like our opponent is going to be spending a few turns deploying things. So I think I have some time to fire this off, and I can try to get like the more choice cards out of our opponent's hand. All right, this is great. Yeah, if my opponent wants to, sink their turn into making this attack here, like we just get to drain them for one. That seems fine. I could also just take the 3 and leave this back to block another day. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to take the 3. Whatever. Like, taking 3 here it doesn't seem very important. If my opponent wants to tap out, that's fine. Okay. So we're slowly climbing to that 6 mana spot, but I think we're going to get there. I'm just going to swing in for 1. Like, if our opponent made that play last turn, it means that they didn't have any 3-drops, so maybe they have a 4-drop that's, like, kind of threatening, but then we can just chump block with this guy, so I don't feel bad about, like, waiting on the Myers Malice. And if our opponent ever plays anything we really can't deal with, we do have the Ruinous Path. But if we can curve Awakening Myers Malice into curving Awakening Ruinous Path, I think we probably win this game. Like, 3 for 1U and then 2 for 1U, or like 2 for 1U and kill your best creature. Like that's a pretty powerful play. But we do have access to it just as a removal spell. All right, so what does this guy do? 4/2. Okay, he gains first strike. All right, so we can block him with the snapping Gnarlid. So taking that 3 damage earlier is going to save us 4 damage now. Seems pretty good for us. So drawing a land here would be pretty nice because, like, our opponent, I don't think our opponent's going to deploy 2 cards next turn. So the Myers Malice is going to be, yeah, okay. So the Myers Malice is going to be good for us. And we'll take a hit from the Worm, but I think, like, we'll have those plays of curving the Malice into the Ruinous Path. And I could kill this now, and that would be fine, but I just don't feel the pressure at this point. Like, yes, our opponent's going to resolve another threat here, and we're going to be a little bit light, but, like, we're going to have a 3/3, and we're going to take the cards out of their hand here. Okay. And since we're at 17 and we have ways of of gaining life on the battlefield. Like we have 2 fogs against this guy currently. Not that I want to be spending my cards that way, but it is an option. So as long as we don't see like a big bomb here. This is a pretty good one. It's an annoying card. We may be actually kind of weak to flyers, so I'll have to be a little bit careful about this. All right, I could just take 4, go to 13. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go ahead and block the 1-2 and just take 4 here. This gives us blocks next turn in case our opponent, comes up with something big. All right, sweet. So we get to do this sweet Myers Malice play that I wanted to do. And I'll awaken, I guess, one of my forests because we only have the 2 swamps. And it sucks that we're 1 mana, we're 1 land short of awakening an untapped land, But yeah, getting our opponent to all right. Well, they didn't have much, I guess. They had another creature and then just an island. But then, like, if we draw a land off the top, we can like Ruinous Path, the Whiptail, and then like get a 4/4 into play. And like already this 3/3 is threatening a lot of our opponent's board. The 2/1 in the air is a little bit of an annoyance. Oh wow. All right. Well, we may be Ruinous Pathing something else. All right. They got the processor. Yeah. So we'll have to Ruinous Path that. No way around it. And we'll have our own 4/4 to fight their 4/2. But we'll be like a turn too slow on that. Because they're going to attack. Yeah. So I could take 6, but I really don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and trade off the the Gnarlid at this point. And again, like we can chump block this next turn if we have to. Hitting a land here would be pretty great though. All right, so we didn't hit a land. I think I do just have to kill this though. Is that right? Like I can chump here. No, that just seems so bad. I think I have to kill it. But in that case, like I can also like put in like the Shambler into play. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cast the Shambler, and then I'm gonna fire off the Ruinous Path on my opponent's processor, and then we're at parity. And like, could I just take a hit here? Like, I could take a hit and like block here if my opponent doesn't draw land. Like, okay, so my opponent has no cards in hand. If they draw a land, they can run this out. They also can sink mana into this twice. So I don't think I can afford to take a big hit from the processor. So I'm going to go ahead and just fire off and kill the processor now. Since I have good blocks on the rest of this stuff going on right now, I feel like the Ruinous Path makes sense here. All right. And now we can just pass. So we're definitely not out of the woods yet, but this was on a mulligan on the play. So, all right, well, that's pretty bad news for us. The landfall trigger here is not great for us. We're going to block the Raider. Oh, well, our opponent didn't swing with the Raider. So this would drop us to 6 and put us on a 3-turn clock to the Sky Spawner. But I think that's what we just have to do. I don't want to throw a creature away. And like the Shambler will get better if we get some Eldrazi spawn, and we can then start eating some of our opponent's creatures. So I'm just gonna take this and drop to 6. So kind of precarious, but again, like we can gain a bunch of life from our Cutthroat here. Surprised our opponent. Yeah, okay. Now they've realized that they could sink the mana in there. That's fine, though. Let's go ahead and cast Sylvan Scrying just to thin our deck a little bit. It's possible that we didn't need the Sylvan Scrying. We didn't have like that many landfall guys. Ooh, Mortuary Mire is actually... Do we have anything here? We have the Gnarlid. Gnarlid's not that good. I mean, it is... So maybe this was a reason to hold on to this, to buy back something. I'm gonna go ahead and get the Mire, but not spend it right now. And yeah, we're just gonna have to pass the turn. We can't afford to take a big hit this next turn, so we'll just pass back. And we may have to chump the Raider here. All right, man. Our opponent's probably sad to be drawing all these lands, but honestly, we'd much rather them be drawing spells. I think, or not great spells, but spells. All right, let's see if they figured out that they can attack with the other guy. Nope. All right, we'll throw this fella in front. This way, we'll just take 1 damage, go to 5. And something good. Yep. All right. Nothing good. I don't want to use Mortuary Mire. I don't want either of these creatures back. We're just gonna play this forest, and we're gonna have to block both creatures next turn. So if our opponent rips a land, we'll put the Cutthroat in front of the Whiptail. All right. Well, our opponent drew a land. Our opponent's drawing a lot of lands, which is fine. Like maybe we should have waited on the Ruinous Path. All right. Opponent's wizened up that they can kill us now. All right. So we're going to trade off our forest and chump the Whiptail. So we're not going to be taking any damage this turn, I think. Oh, no, sorry. This guy dies first, so we'll take 1. So we'll go to 4. But, yeah, it's not looking great for us. We need to draw a spell. All right, well, that's not a bad one. Yeah, let's go ahead and slam this. 5, 6. And with this on the battlefield, I'm kind of tempted to mire back our Cutthroat. Like, it gives us a way of surviving the Sky Spawner. So I actually think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and put the Cutthroat on top. Like, it kind of sucks that we're like losing our draw step next turn to replay it, and we have like all this mana to do other stuff with, but we will die to this 2/1 in the air in 2 turns unless we do something about it. All right, well, our opponent still drawing lots of lands. We're just going to chump with the Scion token and take 2. All right. So we can play out the Cutthroat. And then actually I think I want to attack with something. So if I attack with the Monitor, then if my opponent doesn't draw a land, then I don't have good blocks here. Well, I'm gonna have to sack my Eldrazi Scion anyway. So I think what I want to do is I want to attack with 1 Scion and the I want to attack like this. So then I'm gonna block my opponent's Whiptail if they attack with it and sack it. But otherwise, I still have to sack a Scion so I don't die to the Sky Spawner. So if my opponent decides to swing in, then yeah, okay. So my opponent's drawing a lot of lands, man. So I can block with the Sky Spawner here, or sorry, with the Scion token. All right. So I'm gonna go to 1. All right, and let's see what we draw here. Hopefully something good, because otherwise we're dead. Oh, All right. Not bad. Let's go ahead and use this now. Let's tap like so. I want to use this now just in case the card I draw, I can cast this turn. But this also does buy us another turn. We can now sack the second 1/1 Eldrazi Scion and go to 3. But I want to know what I draw off this card first before I move to combat. So if I draw a threat, then I can attack with the Brood Monitor, and maybe my opponent decides to trade, and then I can play my threat. All right, but I drew a land. So in that case, I think, I'm still going to attack with the Brood Monitor, actually. Like, I need to put a clock on my opponent, and, like, it's not a very good clock, but it is a clock. And, like, I'm going to be sacking both of my Scions anyway. Yeah, so my opponent decided to trade here. So now it's their 2 power in the air versus my 1/1s, which is actually pretty good for my opponent, but, we still have a chance here. Our opponent is technically at 8 right now, because we're going to be able to use our Eldrazi Scion. All right, our opponent is just drawing all the lands in the world. My god, they must be really upset. Meanwhile, we are hemorrhaging our creatures, but since our opponent didn't draw a threat here, we get to hit him for 2 down to 7, and then we'll be dead if we don't draw anything this turn. So what do we get? Something? Anything? I'll take anything. Yeah. we just keep finding ways to survive, I guess. This is pretty awesome, actually. Because yeah, we're gonna swing in for 2, and like our opponent's basically dead. Like we get to sack 2 Eldrazi spawn to survive this next turn, and that's gonna put our opponent at 5, and then we get to swing in with 3, and then yeah. So I mean, they're not quite dead actually, but all right. Well, they drew a creature, so that's pretty good for them. But this Cutthroat seems really strong. Like I wasn't sure how to rate it, but it seems really, really good. We've got our opponent down to 5 now. And like, we're not, I mean, yeah, we're not, actually, I'm not exactly sure how this, yeah, we're not dead next turn, because like we block, well, no, this will go on the stack after the creature dies, so we are dead next turn. So what is this one? Opponent loses 2 life. Yeah, so if I swing with everything, my opponent drops to 3. Yeah, so I think, wow, I think we got it, right? Yeah, so I'm going to attack with everything. My opponent gets to block one of our creatures, and then the Cutthroat trigger is gonna drop them to 2, no matter who they block. And then I'll have a colorless creature around for the Dominator drone, and then we just win. It's kind of insane. Yeah, I didn't think we were going to win this game. We've been, sitting at 1. The Cutthroat really saved us here. Yeah, I can sack this for value too, right? Yep. Because we'll still have a colorless creature in play. Our opponent has no cards in hand, otherwise I would be pretty hesitant to do this. All right, I win. So that was pretty sweet. Let's see what we can do after sideboarding. I think I'm going to remove that Sylvan Scrying from the deck, because I think we're maybe a little less reliant on the ramp and more reliant on just like having the 1/1s. So maybe we can put in like Call the Scions or something that like gets benefits. So maybe like one of the Voracious Nulls is actually pretty decent in this deck. As far as what we saw from our opponent, yeah, what did we have? We had the Gnarlid. The Gnarlid seemed fine. The Reef Invoker seemed maybe it's just too much of a sink. I don't think we're ever gonna use that. So I'm gonna take that out. I'm gonna put in one of the Nulls and the Call of the Scions, and I'm gonna run it back like this, because I think our deck is actually like just fine against this kind of an opponent. We just didn't draw, like, we drew the Ruinous Path, but like didn't see either of our Bone Splinters or our unnatural aggressions, and I think we could have, like, fought down that flyer pretty easily. So we're just gonna run it back and see what we can do against this opponent. Hopefully they don't have any low mana sweepers. This hand looks sweet. Yeah, this hand looks actually like just very good. So we're gonna keep it. We can go Gnarlid on 2, Call the Scions on 3, and then like Voracious Mill plus Bone Splinters the following turn if we draw a land. Like, seems like a very strong start that our opponent's gonna have some trouble dealing with. Be nice if we hit, like, yeah, okay, well, this guy's not bad either. Though maybe is like a little bit awkward in our deck. It's not like the best card in our deck. All right. Well, our opponent has a way to get around our Scions, at least. However, if they decide to get in a race here, I think we may humor them. Void Attendant was a pretty good card to pick up as well. Right, we just need to find ways to start exiling some of our opponent's cards. I might make this trade if my opponent offers it, depending on what their follow-up play is. Okay, they did not offer it, and they don't have a follow-up play. So, maybe I offered the trade then. They didn't offer the trade, so I think I'm going to go ahead and offer it here. I don't know what tricks I should be playing around, but I think it's okay, even if it is a trick. Because, like, we have... All right. All right, no tricks. So what I want to do here, I think, is just play out my Call to Scions. It seems a little bit weird, but that way if I draw a land next turn, then I have a reliable way of Bone Splinters plus another threat, which seems good. I think this opponent, like, a lot of their threats are worth killing, so the Bone Splinters seems decent. At the moment, they're just stuck off of red, so that could be a problem for them. All right, let's go ahead and put the let's go ahead and attack our opponent first of all. I don't think I want to, like, blow all these for a channeler or something. Do I? No, I don't think I do. I think I can just put pressure on my opponent right now. And then follow up with the Attendant. We already have a card we can exile with Great Birthing, and then we can start going off that way. We do need a little bit more mana before this starts becoming a possibility, but we have the Scions currently in play, and then we have, our Channeler and the Conduit in hand. Maybe it was just better to play Channeler this turn and attempt to, like, slam Conduit the next turn. That just seems like kind of a waste. All right, our opponent has a very good Bone Splinters threat, or target, so we're going to go ahead and do that this turn. Maybe even use the Great Birthing. All right, well, we hit the land, so that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and Bone Splinters this away, sacking a Scion. And so right now I have 4 mana. Yeah, I think what I want to do here is just go ahead and cast the Great Birthing and get in for 3. The reason I want to do this now is this opens up my Attendant for next turn. And if I draw a land, yeah, okay, I drew the land, so I can just slam the Channeler next turn. Or even, I could even ramp off the Scions to play the Conduit of Ruin and just try to seal the game away. And then, like, Conduit of Ruin finds the Processor that gains me a bunch of life. So I feel pretty comfortable about where we are currently. And again, I think our opponent probably just is stuck off of red because they haven't done anything really worth mentioning. I mean, the 3/3 Vigilance was, like, a good play, but it wasn't insane. And, like, something like this screams like desperation to me. Like, we can still activate this, so it's not even that threatening. Like, you're just taking 2 power off of our board. All right. Yeah, so I'm gonna play the forest. I'm gonna sack a scion and run the conduit in here. And then we'll just, we'll definitely use this ability, put the Ruin Processor on top, and pass the turn. Or, well, get in for our 1, and then pass the turn. So next turn, we can play the Processor, gain 5 life, and then have a 5/5 and a 7/8 on the field. There's probably a Wrath that I should be worried about, but I don't actually know the format very well, so beating down for a whole bunch each turn seems fine to me. All right, let's go ahead and swing in with these two. If our opponent has a big play, they have a big play. Okay, so they're just throwing everything here. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that really. That's fine. It's gonna mean that the processor I can cast not this turn, but I can play the channeler this turn. That seems fine. Maybe that was like a reason to play the processor first, but either way it seems okay. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and use the Mortuary Mire on the conduit. Like, we don't have any more targets for the conduit, but it's still a 6-mana 5/5. And like, our opponent hasn't put up any defense at all. All right, well, they have a 3/4 flyer, which we can just beat through. So yeah, again, I don't feel like super threatened yet. All right, just go ahead and replay the conduit here. I don't really want to sack the Scion, and I want to attack every turn. All right, we have no targets, but that's okay. It's a shame we didn't pick up like one more big Eldrazi. Yeah. So the problem with all these landfall guys is they're great on offense, but they're just terrible on defense. All right. And our opponent can double block here, and I don't really mind. So I'm just gonna go ahead and swing in with these two. If they double block the conduit, then again I can't play the Ruin Processor, so I again should have played it first. But oh, they're just gonna take it. They have a spell. I'm really confused here. Oh, okay. So I guess our opponent had just had enough. But anyway, this is pretty sweet. I'm starting to get a feel for the format, feel for what we should be doing. So I'll see you guys in round 2.